Good morning, friends, wherever you are, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee live stream. Hope you're all having a cup of your favorite beverage, wherever you might be. Oh, yeah. All right. I see a very good group of folks have jumped on the stream. Thank you so much. I sort of cobbled the stream together at the last minute. But I see that Paul first on the chat. Thank you, Paul, and Tracy right behind him. Hey, Price Tag, good to see you, Joe. Larry's in the house. Ron's here. Soren from Denmark. Very, very cool. Robin's in the house. Wally's Freshwater Aquatics. Dez is here. Mexicali Fish Keeper. Very, very cool. More folks are jumping on. Hey, GP, good to see you. One of my wonderful moderators. Big shout out to my moderators, GP and Denny, and all the rest of them. Brian Park in the house. Very, very good. All right, I have a video for you today. A short video. And we're going to be changing up the format a little bit. I'm going to be, as you know, I used to do those lap videos, full laps of the fish room, and then now I've switched over to doing individual aquarium spotlight videos where I just talk about what's going on with each tank. But I decided to go ahead and do a very quick lap of the fish room and share it with you folks here today, since there are some cool things going on. But that video will be just for you. Just for those of you on the live stream. Maybe I'll share it to the Patreon page. More folks are jumping on. Very, very good. Good morning to all of you, or good afternoon, depending where you are. Salient Aquatics, another moderator, has jumped on. Moderators just kind of help to keep the stream family friendly. So, Mexicali beard is looking strong. Oh, thank you for that. Here's the beard cam. There you go, the beard cam. I was wondering what it looked like. I hadn't seen it in 10 years. So there it is. So I might be shaving it in AV is good. Thank you, Brian. I was wondering about that. I was about to ask. But I might be shaving it in April. I'm going to a business conference, and I think I might want to look a little bit more clean cut for that, but we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. JM Aquatics, good morning to you. Brian Hahn in the house. Raisin Fishes. Hey, Scotty. GP, spreading the hobby. I just helped a family member set up a 120 African Cichlid tank. I did it the pro route and drilled the overflow into it and installed a trigger system 39 stump. Wow. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Chef Steve in the house. Thought of a subject for your best trio of fish kept together. Mine is Bolivian Rams, Gold Cory, and German Red Devil Angelfish. Wow. It sounds like a beautiful combination. Chef, you want to send me a short video of that combination? Just send it to ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. I'd love to see that trio, and remind me of your suggestion. I might do a trio. Maybe I will do a trio. Why not? We'll call it Fishy Threesomes. All right. All right, so let's see. I just got back from Seattle, attended, that's why there was no live stream last weekend. I was at my niece's wedding, about 125 people there. Just a lot of fun to see relatives. And if some of you that follow me on Instagram, at ben.o.cichlid on Instagram, you saw some of the photos from Seattle. Just a really kind of a special town, very dear to me, since it is my wife's hometown and where we would go to when we first met. We would go up to Seattle, and so I just love the Pacific Northwest. Whip's World in the house, giving everybody a gigantic good morning. Hey, Z-Zip. So let's do the, let's do the official start here. Here we go. Here we go. It's official. A couple of shout outs before we get rolling. A shout out to the Aquarium Co-op for all of their help. They've been helping me a lot with some of the planted projects. You can see over my shoulder there the discus fish in that heavily planted tank there. That's a lot of Aquarium Co-op plants. Big shout out to the Aquarium Co-op. I did visit Corey while I was up in the Northwest. I have over an hour of video footage that I'm editing, and we had a very good discussion, and I will be posting that video soon. And it'll probably be several videos because I have so much footage together with him doing a tour of his aquarium laboratory there where he has all his tanks that he hangs out, an ideal cave that he has. So watch for that video. It'll be coming up. And let's see. Let's just do a couple real quick shout outs here. We got the Aquarium Co-op. Pay a few bills. If you want to support the channel very indirectly and in a way that costs you nothing, use this link to get to Amazon. If you use this link to get to Amazon, anything you buy on Amazon, I mean, it'll take you to my store, but anything you buy on Amazon will give a credit to the channel. It's small. It's like a few pennies, but doesn't change your price and actually can add up and help out the channel. Another way you can help out the channel, apart from watching and all that good stuff, is becoming a Patreon, and a very big shout out to those of you who support the channel on a monthly basis as members of the Garage Gang, as Patreons. Starts for as little as $3 a month. Big shout out to all of you. You are very, very appreciated. You get me to cichlid, you get me to shows, conferences, and help me keep things running here in the fish room. Also, a big shout out to Josh over at Cunningham Tropicals. And he has decided to make it 15% off on everything. So if you use ben.o.cichlid at Cunningham Tropicals, you get 15% off on his dry goods and on his fish. The fish you see over my shoulder back here are the discus I got from him. I've been feeding the discus some of these flakes, and these are the premium tropical flake. Discus love them. These discus are living large. They're getting like Sarah, they're getting Sedenker, they're getting some of Cunningham. They're getting a lot of great quality food, including I feed them a lot of this Super Cichlid's proprietary blend here of blackworms, and they lose their minds over the blackworms. So at any rate, there you go. Give Josh a visit over at Cunningham Tropicals, and let's go ahead and play a short video that I have for you, just a very quick walkthrough. I'm looking at my little Malawi Gar, who was added to the aquarium when I got back from Seattle. I had auto feeders on the tanks, except for this one, and my son-in-law was coming over and feeding these fish. Everything else had auto feeders on it, and but in that time period, the quarantine period had passed, and so the Gar was ready to go in. So I added him to the 300. He is very, very cute, much happier in this bigger tank, as you can imagine, as opposed to being in a divided 29-gallon. But let me go ahead and just cue up this video. And here we go. We can chat while the video is playing. Here you go. Well, recently I've been doing the Aquarium Spotlight series where I talk about one aquarium at a time. For today's live stream, I'll go ahead and just do a very quick lap. This aquarium is doing well. I did remove the one geo. If you remember, I had two of these geos in here. This was the dominant geo that was harassing the other one. So I removed the other one because he had a little bit of a growth at the base of a fin, of a pectoral fin. So he's now in another aquarium. I'm actually medicating him, seeing if he can clear up. But those kinds of growths are usually very difficult to clear up, but we'll see. We'll see how he does. Otherwise, this aquarium is doing well. I've got a little bit of I've got different lighting on it. I put the old beams work on it because the light I had on it before seemed to be a little bit too yellow, and it wasn't really showing the colors of the fish the way I'd like them to be seen. So I swapped out that light. So the difference in this tank is, well, it's a big Vieja and a big Oscar. I think ultimately the Oscar will be bigger, certainly chunkier than the Vieja. Looks like the chocolate is going a little green today. They're a different color all the time. So I've got different lighting and minus one fish, and that's the update on this aquarium. Otherwise it seems to be doing well. There's the firemouth defending the middle of the tank. Salvini just ignores him. Over to the right, we have my little Discus buddies. I have a video coming out on hand feeding them. I've been hand feeding them and it's a lot of fun. You'll see it in the video this afternoon, actually. I'm seeing some great activity, great color, great shape. Just a great group of fish. Plants are doing well. Got some new growth. You'll notice at the top of some of the plants, the brighter greens that are popping out are new growth. So the plants are doing well despite the higher temperature of about 82 to 83 degrees. And talking about temperature, I did remove the heater that was on here. There was a heater against this wall here that was giving an error message, and an alarm was sounding actually. The heater had a built-in alarm, and it was telling me that it wasn't submerged, that the water level was low, even though the heater was completely underwater. So something was obviously wrong. I removed the heater and I put into action here an old Eheim 300 watt German-made heater. You can see it out there in the back, laying on its side there. Not a bad way to position a heater. That way you don't have to worry about it when you do water changes. But it's laying there on its side, doing a great job keeping the aquarium between 82 and 83 degrees. So stay tuned for that feeding video. It'll be right after today's live stream. If you remember the last time we talked about this tank, I talked about adding fish. So we have a bunch of little ember tetras in the planted aquarium. So I added some embers, I added a rasbora. Little rummy nose are doing great. I now have two chutes. There's all my neons. They usually congregate right here. I have two shoots coming out of this lily. Very, very cool. So I'm getting these little lily pads at the top of the aquarium. I thought they would grow just to the height of the aquarium, but they're growing even taller. There's one way out there. Here, I'll just grab it. The stems can get a little bit, look at the size of that leaf, if you can make it out. Anyway, the stems can get a little crusted, but the plecos, the little baby plecos, and a little snail sometimes will get onto the stem and clean it up. But very cool red lily. The rest of the plants look like a wild jungle. Java fern, some anubias, some hornwort, just a variety of things. A little bit of val there. This anubias is doing great. Little teeny ember tetras, I've been feeding them that powdered magic food from Aquarium Co-op. They just love it. It really is like a powder. Just to the right, we have the 90-gallon with my Tapajos, my little puppy dogs. Look at the pectoral fins on that guy. Wow, they're like an electric blue. So they're starting to show a lot of promise. I'm not noticing anyone super dominant or picking on anybody. This one's certainly the biggest one. You can tell the length of his pectoral fins. Just a beautiful fish. Little camera hog, red spotted severum. Super mellow fish. Electric blue Ochart. Hey, here's one of the Congos. Usually the Congos hang out by the back. They don't come up to the front much. I haven't fed them yet, so they might come up and say hi. Blue Congo tetras. Nothing much going on back here in these aquariums, my hospitals and quarantine tanks. My banner. The 300-gallon is doing great. I've got a new fish in here. Let's see if I can get him over here to the middle of the tank so you can see him. Energizer bunny. There he is. Can you make out that little Malawi Gar? It's just added to the aquarium, a Malawi Gar. That pointed snout. Red anal fin. Really cool fish. Designed to get between rocks and eat fry in the wild. He's definitely a predator hap. Pretty small, so I think the other fish don't see him as a threat, but too big to fit in their mouth, so they're not going to eat him. But too small to really bother with, so nobody really went after him after I added him. There's the big trout. Hawk. Little fire hap. All doing great. Making a big mound here in the back of the aquarium. Probably being dug out by the Bucochromis, Rhodesiae yellow. So there's the update. A lap of the fish room. think I'll include these in the live streams, but not release them as separate videos. Separate videos will be individual spotlight videos, like the one coming out this afternoon on the hand feeding of the Discus tank. There you go. Let's get back to the live stream. All right. Hope you enjoyed that lap of the fish room. And I was looking at some of your questions here and also monitoring the stream on my phone. Someone mentioned the volume, but the volume seemed okay from what I was hearing. But I did turn it up just a little bit in the output. So let's take a look at some of your questions. And Salient Aquatics, no, I have not tried Aquion's Monster Fish Medley with freeze-dried river shrimp and mealworms. Sounds delicious. I haven't tried it though. And I've got so much food here, so many bags of food that get sent to me. I do buy some food, but I get a lot of it sent to me by companies like Northfin and of course Sarah and Josh sends me food. I mean, I'm like overwhelmed with food. This is why I give away food sometimes, because I've just got too much. But but that definitely sounds like a good combination. Let's see, Kent AJDK, have you ever thought or have dwarf cichlids like Epistogram or others? No, I haven't. I have not had those, even though I will say, if I had the room and if I ever take that section where the hospital tanks are and maybe knock out some of the cabinets and replace it with maybe some better aquarium stands, maybe put a tank there, maybe a 75 or something would be great for a pistos, dwarf cichlid, something like that. I've never really been that interested in like Shelleys, but people love Shelleys, and I'm sure if I had some and I started to watch their behavior and get into it, I'd probably fall in love with them, of course. But they color-wise, they just seem a little drab to me. But Pistos grammas are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and you can keep them in a planted tank. And so that fish is sort of on the short list. Somebody suggested Bolivian rams as a centerpiece fish for the planted community tank. What do you think about that? What do you think about Bolivian rams? I know that some of the rams require a high temperature. That's why you see them paired with discus fish. But I think the Bolivians can actually be fine at 75, somewhere between 72 and 78. So what do you think about a Bolivian ram as a centerpiece fish for the planted community tank? That's an idea. Let's see here. GP wants some ideas on what to put into that cichlid tank. GP, if you get a nice group of peacocks and get them young, they can probably end up getting along. I've had older peacocks that I put together, and they proceeded to tear each other up. I think that might have been more because I was putting adult mature males together that were very territorial, and I was putting them in a 55. In a 125, you grow out a fluorescent, a Benga Sunshine, maybe throw a Taiwan Reef in there, might be nice. Maybe a flame tail, right? A ruby red. There's some beautiful peacocks that you can throw in there, have them grow up together, and they should be able to get along. You could probably put 15 different peacocks in there, all male. I mean, you could throw some females in there if you want to make it interesting, but I'd go with all males. Just an idea. You could go Mabuna, just build up a bunch of rock work, a bunch of cave work. I would build it up to the corners, outward to the corners from the middle, leave the middle open, and then build caves up towards the back corners of the aquarium, and fill it up with some yellowtail and some labs and some, you could get some real pretty Mabuna going, and they'll start breeding, and that'd be fun. John Doe. First of all, is that your real name? Yeah, 150 is big. 150 has a deep, a deep footprint, and very popular in reefing, because you get that depth, and a Spectabilis would do fine in a 150. They do fine in a 125 probably. Not one of the bigger, chunkier cichlids. I'm looking at mine from here, and he's been around a long time. He's getting older now, but he's still very beautiful, and has a great egg spots on the anal fin. Beautiful blue in the body. Kind of a cousin to an eye biter, but doesn't have the attitude of the eye biter. Doesn't have as brilliant or electric a blue as the eye biter, but that's an okay trade-off, because you get a much mellower fish. Ex-Kali Kev, I have been bonded. I can't talk about the 800 right now. He's going to do a big reveal, and but Zenzo and Corey want me to keep it under wraps. But let's just say that it's a tank that I would have loved to have just put some shorts on and snorkeled in, but for right now, I am not going to talk about it. I have been sworn to secrecy. Herbert the Pervert would like some turtles. Now, I really don't know what to make of that. Herbert, you can, I've seen people use, you have the aquarium at about a third water, and then you have it built up to some islands, and that third of water can get very, very disgusting with a turtle. I've seen people run canister filters somehow into those turtle tanks, and they seem to do a good job. You're still going to have to do a lot of vacuuming. Turtles can be very, very messy. Yeah, GP, a 10 between you and me and a 125, I get two of those. I would get two of their 10 packs, and because what'll happen is you're going to get you'll get a couple that are not that impressive. You'll have some females mixed in there, because I think they give you 10 with no guarantee of sex. If it's guaranteed males, that's cool, but I think it's just 10 whatever they scoop up from the tub. But I would get 20, and as they put on size, keep the showstoppers, and take the other ones to the local fish store, and you'll end up with a good group. I mean, you'll get some things that happen along the, there'll be some aggression. You'll lose one or two. A few might turn out to be females, so you'll end up with a good group. Salient hits me with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And no. You demand, Salient. Thank you for that super chat, folks. For those of you not familiar with super chats, it's a way for you to throw a little money at the channel. Whip's World, I have stacked rock against the glass panels. You probably don't want to put too much weight there. You don't want to put pressure that'll separate. But, I mean, are you going to get more pressure than the water is already creating on the seals? Probably not too much more. I mean, you're getting a lot of pressure on those seals. But, yeah, I would just sort of work it up. And, of course, the heavier, bigger ones at the bottom. And then as you go up, you just get lighter and lighter and smaller. You might also want to consider ceramic caves, which weigh nothing. And also some of the rock work that you can pick up from places like Universal Rocks over in Texas. It weighs nothing, and you can lay it against the glass. You can drop it. You don't panic, right? I mean, I had to move one of the rocks in the 300-gallon because the Buccochromis notitania had dug out so much substrate, I thought it was going to tip over and it would hit the glass. Might not break the glass because that is 3/4 glass, but it would scratch it for sure. So you've got these, here, I'll show you. You've got these ceramic from Unique Underwater Galleries, ceramic caves. You hear that? They weigh nothing. They will not damage your glass. Fish love them. And they stack. They are built to stack. And once they've been in the aquarium a little while and they start to get a little bit of the algae on them, they look very, very good. So that would solve the weight problem. Zach has a good question regarding canister filters. First of all, Zach, I suggest that you check out my playlist on canister tips. Maybe one of the moderators can share that link to the playlist for canister tips. But the you over time you get to know your canister. So after 3 months, go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like. If it still looks good and you're getting good pressure, good flow coming out of the output, you're good. Just close it up and keep going. Then check it in 6 months. Check it in 9 months. If you have a pre-filter on there, you're going to be able to go 9 months to a year if you have a pre-filter over the intake. But you're going to need a little while to get to know the canister, and then you'll have an idea of when. I see, because I can't just say, look, every 3 months open it up, and that's when you service it. Because you've got, how much are you feeding? How big are the fish? How are you vacuuming? Are you stirring things up in the substrate? Are you there's a lot of moving parts. So you'll dial in the servicing of your canister by opening it up in 3 months. Take a look. If it looks, in the words of Jay Wilson, like a hippo took a dump in it, then you probably need to service it probably every 2 months. But if it still looks relatively good, you're probably okay to go longer. And so after a while, you'll get a feel for it, you'll dial it in. Now, keep in mind that is a moving date. And by moving date, what I mean is if you add a lot more fish, you change how you're feeding, you remove fish, then your schedule changes, right? It's a constantly sort of moving situation. My canisters are currently being serviced once every 9 months to a year because I have covers over the intakes, sponge covers, medium, like a medium PPI, medium porousness, and so that stops a lot of the big pieces from going in there. Joel wants to know the growth rate of a buco. A buco and a hawk, bucos get big. They can get up over well over 10 inches. A hawk can top out around just under 10. Depends on the strain. Hawks, they both, I think, compared to something like, let's say, an Oscar, are slow growers. They can take a while. This is why when you go to buy a 6-7 inch mature hap, you're going to pay $50 to $100. I mean, that person's been raising that fish up and feeding it for years, 2-3 years, to get it to that nice big hefty size. So I would say mine, the one I got from Fritz, he's probably put on an inch. He's definitely put on more color. I'm watching him go back and forth right now. So I would say you're going to get probably an inch every 4 to 6 months, along with nice coloration. So they're not super, it's not like an Oscar, where an Oscar you can get, come over here, Oscar, I'm talking about you. Here he comes. Here's my big tiger Oscar. Now, the albino's a runt, but the tiger Oscar just exploded. He grew like 3 or 4 inches in, I don't know, 9 months. This Vieja took a long time to grow, but Oscars pretty much blow up. Severums are really slow to grow. Silver dollars take a while, but they get big. They get like a saucer. Geos are very slow to grow. This Geo took a long time to grow. But what a stud. Look at the size of him compared to my hand. Here comes the firemouth. Get out of my territory. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I wish I had something scientific for you. I mean, you also have factors like water quality, stress, the quality of the food that you're feeding, optimum parameters. Are you keeping them in optimum parameters? Ideal pH. I mean, there's several moving parts that'll contribute, and also the genetics of that fish. I've had the last Venusis I had was a runt. This Oscar is a bit of a runt, so I'm not going to get probably a lot of size out of them. Then you get, I had a Venusis in California that he went from a 4 to 10 inches in about a year. I mean, this is a massive Venusis. So again, these are different genetic lines. John Doe, no. When you're online, and again, I can't stress this enough. When you're online, you're getting a very broad stroke. I mean, and a lot of these things that they have, a lot of the data they have online is from things that they see in the wild, and captive in an aquarium. Again, you've got all these factors I just mentioned. How ideal are your parameters? My water for my cichlids could be a little harder. I don't work on additives. I just I've got crushed coral in there. I've got some aragonite, but the water could be a little harder to be more ideal. So I mean, if you approximate ideal conditions, there's not a lot of stress. You're providing good quality food without a lot of dyes and fillers and junk in it. Yeah, you're gonna get close. But in the wild, I've seen pictures of fish pulled out of Lake Malawi that are just monsters, that are just way bigger. So My answer is no, both on life expectancy and size. I think it just, assuming they don't get predated, right? Assuming they don't get picked off by another fish, because there's definitely a lot of that in the wild. But they're gonna get bigger out there in the wild, and I think that is what they're sharing with us on the internet. Of course, I'm looking at an 11-inch Kawingi, so. But I've heard that trout can get up to 19 inches. I saw one that was close to 15 back in Arizona with James Largo. I think that was a giant trout he had. And I know Jerry had a big trout. Jerry Martin has a big trout. But you don't see those 20 inchers in aquariums too often. Karen just finished her water change. That's awesome. Did you remember to condition the water? You know, I'm doing a couple water changes a week on the Discus tank, and you've got to really pay attention, because water changes are very often where I get the most emails and requests for information. And it usually starts with, I just did a water change and my fish are gasping. My fish have clam fins. They're hanging out in the back. They're not eating. I just did a water change. So whenever you mess with the water, there's a risk. I mean, what's coming in from your tap? Is there something different coming in from your tap? Is it a massive pH shift? Is it, did the local water supply do a big chemical flush of the system, and now did you forget to condition? Did somebody start the dishwasher while you were filling the tank, and so your 75-degree water turned into 60-degree water? So a lot of water changes can be a little risky. So with the Discus, doing more water changes than I normally do in an aquarium, I've got to be really, really on my game. These tanks get a water change every 2 weeks, and I change about 30%. This in the 300-gallon. I don't do the big 90% water change. So I'll do like 30%, and every other week I'll do a top off of the sump, and I'll rinse out the pre-filters on the canisters. So that's my routine on these. The other tanks are getting weekly water changes normally, and of course the Discus tank gets twice a week. Zach, I think that at some point, Zach, you're going to need a 125. I mean, if you start to get a taste for the bigger fish, your Venusus is going to be happier in 6 feet across. The 75 is a good size, don't get me wrong. And if you buy one that's relatively young, he'll do fine in there for a while. But if you get a Venusus that ends up being kind of big and chunky, you're going to want that 125. You're going to want that 6 foot across footprint of a 125 or bigger, 150, 180, 210. That's my 2 cents. All right, I'm looking at your questions. L1DSTER27. Welcome to the live stream. I don't think I've seen you before. Have you used, and if so, seen benefits of using things like Cichlid Trace, Malawi Buffer? I don't use things that, I had a video a while back, and it was called Don't Chase pH. And I just work on my fish adapting to my existing conditions. I do, like I said, I do have buffer. I have my buffer. I have crushed coral and aragonite substrate and bags of crushed coral that I freshen up in the sump. But I don't use buffers. I do use what you would call Malawi Lake salt, and it's not salt. It's trace minerals in the same approximation of what is in Lake Malawi, because the fish are getting the minerals in through their body, right? Through osmosis. So I like to add a little bit of that just to give them a little extra minerals. I'll show you what I'm using. Hold on. I'll put the fish cam on. Hold on. There you go. You got an extra restart. So so what I'm using now, I've been using the Seachem Malawi salt, but what I'm using now is a product from Fritz that contains probiotics, and this is the Rift Lake Cichlid salt. Can you make that out? Rift Lake Cichlid salt. And they have another one that is just a slightly different formula. They have two of them, where that one is a salt. This one is a buffer, and I haven't been using the buffer just because for the reasons I said. These were sent to me by Fritz. I haven't used the buffer, but I do use the salt. And again, I just don't like to chase pH and if you have concerns about in a newer tank with newer fish, when you do your water changes, if you're doing a big water change, fill it up slowly. Don't rush the water in there, and that way if there is a pH difference between your tank and the tap, the fish will acclimate to some degree. And pH in a tank that hasn't had a water change for a while, that pH can shift. Hey, Sally. There's Sally the Salvini harassing my Severum. For some reason, the Severum is the one fish that the Salvini likes to go after. I don't know if it's because they're similar in shape or have a little bit of red in the body. I don't know what the deal is. But it's the only fish that the Salvini tends to go after, which I'm glad, because Salvinis can be very vicious. And they have teeth. They're like the chocolates. The chocolate cichlids have teeth, and if they get a hold of your finger, they will draw blood. Not like the Oscar. The Oscar will hold on to your finger, but it will not draw blood. It's still a little scary. Zach, I'd take 2 cents. 2 cents is fair, I think. Well, L1D 5-27, I'm glad that you decided to jump in. I appreciate it. Anders Lungerboom, hello from Sweden. Hello, my friend. Do you know that about 6 years ago, my son won the Swedish baseball championship? He was the captain. He was a player captain. He was playing for the Lumberjacks. Do you know the baseball team, the Lumberjacks in Sweden? They won the national title. And my son was on that team. He had so much fun in Sweden. He loved Sweden. Cat Sailor, I generally run my water out of the tap for 10 to 15 minutes, both hot and cold, in order to get a cleaner stream. It raises the water bill, no doubt, but it's some kind of imperfect logic. You know, I have found that my water temperature can vary. So when I'm doing a big water change, because when I say I do a 1/3 water change, I mean, keep in mind, on my 300 gallon, that's 100 gallons. So the water heater is working hard, and I might start at my starting temperature is usually about 74.8, and then what happens is I'll let it run for a little while, and then I'll recheck the temp at the tap, and it's at 76, 77. So it's fluctuating. So in a big water change, you definitely have to check what's going on several times. You know, I agree, Des. I think CChem is a quality company. I've been happy with their stuff. I used CChem Prime for years. And then a channel sponsor started sending me a Fritz Complete, but and now I've got Aquarium Co-op water conditioner. So you know, it's what I get. You can't beat someone just sending it to you. But those are CChem's a great company. I've been happy with the products from there. Also very happy with Fritz. Ron, if you live in a tall building and somebody is flushing a toilet or taking a shower in the building and it's affecting your water temperature and pressure, something's really wrong. That shouldn't be happening. Can you imagine a hotel with like 100 rooms and every time someone flushes, all the showers get cold or too hot? Yeah, they're supposed to have systems to offset that. I'm more interested in how do you have an aquarium on the 7th floor? And how big is that aquarium? And do they know you have an aquarium? Well, Wibb's World, you know, I'm going to be partial to the pumps that are from Aquarium Co-op. I've got several 2 outlet pumps running right now from Aquarium Co-op, and they're great. The Cobalt Rescue Air is also a great option. I think it runs 48 hours on one charge. So if you're moving or taking fish across a long distance, you can drop an air stone into a bucket, right, and it can run for a long time. I think the Aquarium Co-op ones run for a good amount of time as well, but I've been using Aquarium Co-ops. They run all the time, and if there's a power outage, I'm still getting some surface tension breakup. That's what I'm running in my Discus tank where I need extra oxygen with that 82 degrees, right? So, yeah, you can't go wrong with the Aquarium Co-op pumps. Now, when you say a temp valve set at 80, Ron, are you referring to a controller? When you say temp valve, is that a controller that will shut off the power when you reach the desired temperature? I mean, you really have got to have that. My coffee is staying nice and warm today because I'm using a hot plate. Not sure if you can make it out. There at the bottom, Whoop, I'll put it on the screen. Up, the cord isn't long enough. I'm using a hot plate that was sent to me by Litme. Is it Litme? Who is it? It's an odd, it's a Chinese name. Hold on. It says Smart Mug Warmer, but it doesn't show the name on the actual. Well, anyway, it's doing a great job. It's keeping my coffee nice and warm. I've had people ask me, isn't that coffee cold by the end of the live stream? Well, no, I've got it on a hot plate. All right, so let's see here. Goodbye, GP. Take care, buddy. I'm glad you were here. Anders, I'm not really sure what that means, but if somebody can address this question for Anders, the neutral levels. Now you talk about nitrate levels, the nitrates or solids, or I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Brian Park, I've never had little brown worms in my sump. I have had detritus worms. When you do a water change, you see all these little white worms come on the glass when you mess with the substrate. I did have those a while back. They're all gone now. If you start doing some more aggressive water changes and vacuuming, those worms will go away. You know, Whip, did you contact Co-op about that? If you contact Co-op, because they do come with a warranty, I think a couple years. But if you contact the Co-op, they should have replaced those for you. John Doe, it's a very sort of a sad tale, actually. There were some unscrupulous employees that were reporting that things were being done that were not being done. And when they quit, behind an area where they were working, there were a lot of orders that were placed that were never filled, that they had told the owner had been filled. So we had the unfortunate the unfortunate occurrence of having bad staff. And in a small family-owned business, you sort of live and die with your people. And that doesn't mean that James was without responsibility. I mean, he hired them, and he could have had a better system in place to cross-check what was going on. But at the end of the day, I think he got too far behind. He got just way far behind, and he expanded greatly during COVID. When the hobby was blowing up, the hobby just really grew during COVID. People were at home, they're working on their tanks, or getting their tanks out of the garage. So the hobby went through an explosive period. You even saw that on YouTube channels, right? Fish YouTube channels during COVID. They all sort of grew dramatically. And then COVID went away, and people went back to work, and they were not sitting around watching videos as much, and not in the hobby, into hobbies so much, and that was the end of it. And he just got caught. He got caught in one of those situations that, like people that sell gold, right? Let's say gold prices are going up quickly. They get a lot of orders for gold, but they have low inventory. They have to go buy the gold at a higher price than what they're selling it for. So, they end up behind, and then they disappear, and a bunch of orders don't get filled. So anyway, he got really in a bad situation. Oh, Ron, I get what you're saying. Okay, that makes sense. Something that really controls it. And Anders is saying nitrates. Okay. Nitrates are with Discus. If you look at your Discus purists, they'll say to get your nitrates down to 0. Then you look at your Discus realists. They say you can be around 20 parts per million on nitrates, and you'll be fine with your Discus. And then you get your other type of Discus keeper, which I ran into when I first announced I was getting into Discus. I got a whole wide range of comments, and one of them was, you get the real strict ones, right? 3 water changes a week, and one fish for every 10 gallons, no smaller than 125 gallon, blah, blah, keep your temperature at 85 degrees. Then you get other folks who say, I've been keeping Discus for, 20 years. I treat them just like every other fish. So, in the end, you sort of have to make up your own mind about what you want to do. But if you're going to get into Discus, find out from the Discus provider, what are the nitrates in the tank that they're keeping the Discus? What's the temperature they keep them at? What are they feeding them? Are they domestic? Are they bred locally? Are they wild caught? Right? Find out all that kind of good stuff, and you'll do fine. You'll do fine. These Discus behind me are more rugged than I'm treating them. In other words, they were being kept in the high 70s. They were being fed, like tropical flakes. And so I've sort of upped the game a little bit. I'm keeping them in the 80s. I'm feeding them specialty foods and doing perhaps more water changes than they were getting before. So there you go. Some more of my 2 cents. Now, you talk about water bills. One of the biggest changes that occurred when we moved from California to Tennessee was a change in water prices. I was talking about this with a friend of mine. I didn't realize when I was living in California that I had this anxiety that was just like a vice on my head that I didn't even know was there. I mean, imagine if you were living in a situation where you had to pay for air. And so you had to really watch your breaths, or else you'll run over your allocation. Well, we need air and we need water. And in California, there was a constant campaign about water. And so when I came to Tennessee, I just felt this sort of relief come over me because there was no water anxiety. And I didn't even know that anxiety was there until I got here. And I found myself like washing my car without looking over my shoulder, watering my lawn. Sometimes you don't know you have a headache until it's gone, All right. Michael Welch, an albino compressor sep. Good luck. Good luck with that fish, my friend. I hope he's mellow. Compressor seps are, they can be a handful, and when you put that albino gene in there, mamma mia. But I hope you got a mellow one. If you've been following my channel, you've noticed I've been avoiding albinos for the last couple of years. I had great results with BioHome. Great results with BioHome. I had great results with Marine Pure. Cermatic, I think it's called, Marine Pure. These are great medias. Great medias. But I'm also getting great results now with just sponges. So they are, I mean, if you look at the top aquariums in the world, like what I mean is like public aquariums where they have like marine biologists on staff, you'll find they're using big blocks of Marine Pure in their filtration systems. That's got to mean something, right? Or maybe they're just getting free blocks from Marine Pure. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I found that the use of sponges. Now, I do get, full disclosure, I do get free. I got some free media from Sarah, the Saporax, which is a specially formulated ceramic ring. That's in my sumps. I think I have a little bit of it in my canisters, but for the most part, I'm all sponges. I'm mostly sponges. So I think they're great. I think they're great media. You'll get great results. You'll have a stable situation. I think, is it worth the money? You've got to make up your own mind on that. I mean, I like John Through over at BioHome, the owner of BioHome. He's a good guy. I think he's a straight shooter. I don't think that he would try and rip you off. Just as a frame of reference, in making the same income between California and Tennessee, between taxes, utility prices, nickel and dimes like car registration, fees for this and fees for that, my wife and I figured that we had an increase of $30,000 a year more disposable income in moving from California to Tennessee, and we got 2 granddaughters in the process. So, as you can see, it was a good move. Yeah, William, he's put on some size, and he's posing for you. Hey, buddy. He's just a big water pup. Great fish. Love that fish. The Vieja's gotten pretty big too. I think the Vieja is longer, but the Oscar has more bulk. But yeah, they're wonderful fish. And you saw that survey, that video I just put out on if you could only keep one fish, right? Oscar was the far and away winner. So Whip's World has the receipts, has the facts. He says that up to 16 parts per million on the Amazon River and comparable to other large rivers, Mekong, Congo, 16 parts per million. Now, how important is that as a factor? Especially if you're dealing with fish that have been, aquarium bred for, many, many generations, as opposed to wild caught. And again, these are factors that you need to take into consideration. Kali Kev, you're right. Tennessee folks do not know what a drought is. When it rains here, here's a fun fact for you. We get more rain here than there is in Seattle. Now, granted, it rains like constantly in Seattle, right? But it little drizzles and sometimes hard. They do get some snow. When it rains here, we can get like monsoon flood condition type stuff. I mean, so we get it in bigger doses, but we do get more annual rainfall than Seattle. I can't go a mile without running into a stream, a river, or a lake, and I love it. As opposed to the LA River in LA. Whip swirl, according to the Google machine. Yep, that's right. All right. Well, it's past. We've been at this for over an hour, and you folks are still hanging around, listening to me babble. I want to thank all of you for sitting in today. I want to thank my wonderful moderators, including including Whip, and I guess we lost GP, but he was in there moderating, and so a big shout out to the moderators and all of you here on the stream that have spent some time with me here today. Salient Aquatics. I'm surprised I didn't see Denny. Denny Riddell, did you stop in? I thought he was going to come by. So at any rate, thank you to all of you who have stopped by today. Thank you to those of you who are lurking but not making comments in the chat. You are also very appreciated. Thank you to my wonderful Patreon members. And I think with that, we can go ahead and call this one a wrap. I will be back next week at the same time, and I'll come up with a good topic and we'll have some fun. And watch for the video this afternoon on hand feeding the discus. And I hope you like that one. And I will see you folks. Oh, and thank you for super chats. Anyone who super chatted, if I missed your super chat, I'm sorry. And thank you to all of you who shop at my Teespring store and also use that Amazon link to shop on Amazon. Really helps a lot and helps keep the fish room cranking along. Thank you, everybody. You rock. You're the best. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.